Well, let's take a break. We'll be back, but before that, the National Assembly has adjourned again after MPs ran out of business to engage them. The latest break means MPs are sat for less than 30 days in 5 months since they were sworn in. Failure to transact legislative business has, however, not stopped MPs from pocketing over 2 billion shillings in salaries and allowances for a job not done. Francis Gashuri reports.
The National Assembly reconvened on Tuesday for the second session of the 12th Parliament after a 2-month Christmas recess. But today's sitting was adjourned barely an hour into the session due to lack of business. None of the bills listed for debate in the order paper was deliberated on, with the respective House Committee chairpersons absent.
We know in our standing orders, it's very clear we can only debate or do business as per the order paper. So from the look of things, Mr. Speaker, then there was no point of having this afternoon session, because as per the order paper, there's nothing.
So I don't know why chairs are behaving like they don't read the standing orders. And most importantly, people fight for these leadership positions. And when you get the leadership positions, you need to demonstrate that you are up to the task.
Some members demanding that the House takes another break to enable the House Business Committee put its house in order.
Members of Parliament are very busy people. Rather than keep us in Nairobi doing nothing, if this House has no business, we adjourn even if it's for another 1 week, so that, Mr. Speaker, you can go back and revisit the constituency, rather than keep on postponing bills when they're on the second reading, bill after bill.
Since members were sworn in last August, they have cumulatively sat for about 30 days, yet they have earned hefty salaries and allowances for 5 months. The House was adjourned shortly after the swearing in and reconvened for the President's speech before members proceeded on yet another break to prepare for the repeat State House contest in October. The House then reconvened in November and adjourned for the Christmas recess mid-December. Despite the on and off sessions, members of Parliament have pocketed over 2 billion shillings in salaries and allowances.
Mr. Speaker, what's happening this afternoon here in the House is a fraud on members and a fraud on Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, a few minutes ago, Leader of Majority said that we have our in-trays full. That is true. But I disagree with Honorable Leader of Minority, when he says that the chair of committees are not working. It is Jubilee chairs of committees who are not working. That's the truth.
So to stand there and condemn all the chairs when we have chairs who are doing a very good job, they are hard working, it is very wrong.
Mr. Speaker, please protect us as chairs, because we have an image to protect, especially to our constituents.
The House resumed sittings on Tuesday afternoon to deliberate on nominees to the Parliamentary Service Commission. The National Super Alliance, NASA, still unable to settle on its 3 nominees.
Initially, it had been planned that this afternoon there was going to be debates on the appointment of members to the Parliamentary Service Commission, and you know who has occasioned the delay. That was meant to be today's business. Even as people criticize, they must also so such.
And I really want also the minority side to speed on the consensus on the irreducible minimums. So please try to reduce the irreducibles between now and Monday, so that on Tuesday we give the Speaker, as the chair of the Parliamentary Service Commission, to work with the people who have the mandate. Now the Speaker is working with some of the people who have lost the elections and their commissioners.
The liaison committee, headed by the Speaker and comprising chairpersons of all House committees, heads to Mombasa tomorrow for a retreat to streamline parliamentary operations.
Meanwhile, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has given NASA up to Monday next week to resolve its disagreements and submit its nominee to the Parliamentary Service Commission. Stephen Leto reports.
Time since the 12th Parliament came into life, NASA has been forced to withdraw the list of nominees to the powerful Parliamentary Service Commission over internal disagreements.
Minority Party, the Honorable John Bandi, did write to me requesting that we are allowing and is signed of the coalition until Monday next week, so that I believe then we will proceed with the matter.
We have consulted within the NASA coalition, and we have agreed that by Monday you will get a letter from my office
nominating 3 nominees to the Parliamentary Service Commission from the NASA coalition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
On Wednesday, Minority Leader John Mbadi withdrew the names of MPs Gladys Wanga, Aisha Jumwa and Vihiga Senator George Haniri. Wiper Party had already submitted the name of Borabu Member of Parliament Ben Momanyi. It has emerged that the move by Wiper Party to present their own nominee was informed by Article 10 of the NASA Power Sharing Deal Agreement. According to the coalition agreement seen by Citizen TV, positions that were to be shared include legislative offices, executive appointments and leadership slots in Parliament. Section 6 of the same agreement says constitutional and independent offices will not be subjected to power sharing. Article 127(2)(c) of the Constitution on the formation of PSC states that 7 members shall be appointed, 3 shall be nominated from either the parties or coalition that is not forming the national government. In this case, only Jubilee Party, ODM and Wiper Party met the threshold to qualify as a parliamentary party, with Jubilee Party entitled to 4 slots, ODM 2 slots and Wiper 1 slot. Pressure is now mounting on the House minority leadership to meet the 4 principles and agree on the way forward, failure to which Jubilee and the Wiper candidate will get approval. And 2 slots will be required from ODM, 1 from the Senate and 1 from the National Assembly.
All the substantive issues are being discussed, and broadly speaking, people are listening to each other. And if we reach a point where the understandings are no longer holding, then we will go public with that, because people will need to know how we are holding together.
Sources intimate that NASA intends to have Haniri dropped from the PSC list and replaced by Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who is the current Senate whip, in order to have the 2 ODM slots remain at the National Assembly. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
A lot happening in Parliament, but must admit there is some growing lethargy as far as Kenyans are concerned with what's happening in the National Assembly and the Senate. On Twitter, yes, National Assembly is one of the trending topics, top 20 trending topics, although if you look at the tweets, most of them have to do with South African politics. The story is nowhere on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Features somewhere on page 5 of The Nation. NASA fallout sees PSC vote postponed. Now we do understand they've taken recess again. Remember, they were elected back in August. They've gone on recess again. Collectively, they've only worked for about 3 weeks since they were elected. This is 6 months later. They've only worked for 3 weeks, but they've collected cumulatively 2 billion shillings in salaries. Those are your members of Parliament and the Senate. We do have one of them here with us. Silvana Susoro, MP, Mugirango South. Good morning, sir. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
We also have Gabriel Mudhuma, Jubilee strategist. Gentlemen, karibuni sana. Why was it so necessary to go on recess? You only came back last week.
No, I think Kenyans do not really understand that our role, in as much as collectively it involves legislation, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And the order of business yesterday was to table the report in regard to the appointments of the cabinet secretaries from the committee on appointments, which hadn't been completed. So part of the information hadn't been laid forth. So I think we shouldn't actually think that we've only worked. People should not be thinking that we've worked in less than a month or within just a month. We've done a lot of things even before then. And you also need to live by the fact that we were sworn in August 30th. And after then, a lot happened. You know, we went to elections on 26th. You know, the House was so disorganized. We took a lot of time to make decisions in terms of House leadership.
You do admit failure on your part.
Not as much. That is part of the political, the political changes that, okay, we ought to have, we need to acclimatize with what had happened within the political arena then. So, a lot has happened, as I've said. Yesterday we had to go for recess again. And that doesn't mean that we're not working. I mean, we are formed committees on in our constituencies for constituent development fund. We formed committees for KERA, that is Kenya Rural Roads Authority, and those people within town, Kenya. So a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, but not just being in parliament.
But Gabriel, you must admit that whatever has been happening in the political scene is not hidden from Kenyans.
True.
And the fact that parties, and I'm talking about NASA and its affiliate parties, as well as Jubilee, and the kind of influence they seem to exert on their members of parliament has really affected the operations of the National Assembly and the Senate. The fact that NASA has prevailed upon its members to stay away from the House on major issues, the fact that Jubilee still holds its parliamentary group meetings at State House, so therefore their job is just to rubber stamp whatever the executive says. All these things do contribute to the kind of disorganization, the failure by both houses of parliament to perform their role. Now, of course, Kenyans should and rightly feel cheated that you're still drawing salaries and 2 billion shillings for less than a month, surely.
No. Contrary to that, I think that's a very wrong perception, or rather a pronouncement in regard to work that we do. Committees have been holding meetings. We've been having, committees doing different things. Next week, my committee, the Committee for Defense and Foreign Relations, will be vetting the ambassadors and, the PS. And the CS that was appointed for the position of the Foreign Ministry. So there is a lot that happens behind the scene, and that is what I want Kenyans to understand. Yes. But there is a point that you've well put. Of course, I understand that there is a bit of, there's a bit of slowness in regard to the House business, considering that the leadership of the House does not have independence in thinking, and that one mostly boils down to the Jubilee side of the coalition. That for us to move on in Parliament, we must get an order from State House. That is within the Jubilee coalition. But there is no Jubilee member of Parliament that can think independently without listening to what the executive says.
Well, it's the same for NASA. Gabriel Muduma. Up till now, NASA has not been able, or parties under the NASA coalition have not even been able to submit their nominees for the Parliamentary Service Commission.
Thank you.
Even forming the House Business Committee has been a problem. And without the House Business Committee, you're not doing any job.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Fred.
These parties,
thank you.
Both Jubilee and NASA,
but you see,
have contributed to the failure of both houses. Remember, we elected these individuals back in August last year.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Up until now, they've done a lot of nothing.
Well, one thing I'll tell you, Fred, and good morning to our viewers. First of all, let me start by debunking what Mheshimiwa is telling us, that Jubilee are following robotic instructions from State House. They invited their counterparts, all right, to have Parliament business move on. Mheshimiwa, he has just told us they'll be vetting PSs and CSs. I mean, what other chance are they getting to vet them? They were vetted, they were not in the House, all right? These people have already taken today is the swearing in of the CSs that we saw. They'll be sworn in today. They were absent, So there's so much that is going on, albeit the fact that, he can give nuance that they are getting instructions from the State House, which I don't believe. But the issue that is on our table today is the fact that we as a people can feel some element of lethargy. And you're right on that. Because by now, having conducted elections in August, would have felt as if would be, deep now into the core of things. I mean, we have so many things pending. We have so many issues, that are across that our elected leaders need to be running after. But that's not what we are seeing. We are still seeing, like the NASA. Everybody now is almost pulling differently. You saw the IALA, there was a big fight, people walking in, the NASA side of, the coast area, coming in to talk about the fact that they were not, put into house committees. So that infighting within NASA, I think, has also led to a serious strangulation of time. And the faster they put their house in order, the better it will be for them now to come and argue with their Jubilee counterparts. Right now, Jubilee is enjoying a free ride. You saw
But even a free ride, Gabriel, even this free ride is not does not enjoy the independence that the House should enjoy.
And that's what I don't want.
Because the PG was held at State House.
Well, it doesn't matter. They can choose to go wherever they wanted to go. It doesn't have to be at State House. The last time we saw them calling their PG, it was where? Somewhere in the Rift Valley, one of the hotels there. So the issue is not where they meet. That is not the issue. The issue is what business are they transacting. See, I do not want just a parliament that all we know or all we hear about is Jubilee are the ones in the House. No, I want the opposition to be in there.
And we agree.
And this is where we need to have our arguments. I mean, it's the House. That's where debates are held.
You must agree that NASA has missed a big opportunity
so
far in the last few months in as far as the vetting of CSs is concerned.
Not really.
The fact that you were not there to raise questions. Therefore, the Jubilee side, which was, as we expected, was simply going to rubber stamp whatever list was given by the executive. Even when they raised a question on one of the nominees, they still, because Jubilee is not able, Jubilee members of Parliament are not able to actually point out any problems to the executive. Don't you think that that should have been the role that NASA plays? That they say that yes, here there is a real problem?
You see, from the onset, and I think I said here last week that the exercise on vetting the CSS was more or less like a PR exercise. And I think from the onset...
But don't you think that NASA's absence contributed to that?
Right, not
even
really.
More.
This is my thinking. Right from the onset, in the formation of the committee, the Jubilee side of the committee's leadership in regard to the chairman and vice chair and everything were given a directive on who to be the chair. That devoid of our members being part of those committees, a directive came from State House, equipped with the numbers within the House, and Jubilee carried the day, through orders from State House. That even those chairs, or in all the committees that we are in, including my committee, a chair came out of a directive from the State House. So expecting anything to happen, considering our numbers, that in a committee membership of 20, then NASA has 7 members and there are 13. Expecting any change, like any contribution that is vital is
let's be fair, because the media broadcast the vetting of CSS publicly.
Right.
Anyone who would have been present there as a member of that committee, and you would have gotten an opportunity to question and raise issues which, even though your numbers are low, Kenyans watching would understand, yes, there was a point raised with regard to a certain nominee here or there. That did not happen. What we saw, as you rightly put it, was a simple PR exercise by Jubilee. Don't you agree that NASA's absence from that committee surely shortchanged Kenyans?
I don't agree that. I don't agree to that, because that notwithstanding, like you well put, that what you saw is a PR exercise. So clearly, our presence of 3 or 4 members couldn't have brought any change. But again, you also need to realize, as NASA, there are 2 issues that we've raised here. One is the legitimacy of this government. We are questioning the legitimacy and the appointing authority. That is number 1. Number 2, out of the operations that we see in Parliament, that there is no independent thinking. We feel we can't really be part of an exercise that is deemed to fail. I can even tell you, like you've seen divisions in the PSC appointments in Parliament. That division is brought about by our independent thinking, by the democratic way of thinking within the NASA. From the Jubilee side of the wing, they've already been told, you need to do this is the person that you want to be in the PSC, or this and this and this, and you cannot go against that, even if you have interest. And that is why they hosted Alfred Keter from the Labour Committee.
The PS's nominees for PS positions are coming up for vetting next week or so.
Yes.
Will you be part of that process?
We will be vetting the foreign relations PS and the ambassadors.
So NASA MPs will take part in that?
I will take part in that. I'll take part.
You see, what has changed?
Until I get directed. If we sit down with
until he gets directed.
I mean, come on. No, if we sit down and debate.
You two are getting direction.
We sit down, but we must debate. That doesn't happen from Jubilee. These guys are called to State House for a riot act. They are ordered like small kids. I mean, they are not making anything.
Fred, you see what Mheshimiwa wants us to believe is that they want Jubilee to make their life easier. It's not going to happen. Jubilee are listening from a point of authority. Who are they listening from? They also have their point all right? You saw very well in Yala. Some, or maybe if they were rightfully thinking, they would have, you know, elected the people that who really fought for the party. The likes of Norman Magaya, that's what happened. Where are they reading their script from? But the beauty is that Jubilee actually participated in it. When he brings issue of legitimacy, you know, that is why I tell you, you know, you have to listen very keenly to a politician. And when principle arise, hardly will you find any. Because when we talk about not having or questioning the powers that may be, they started out by saying we don't recognize this president. They went ahead and got sworn in, swearing in by that very same president. What were they doing? Principle was eroded because they wanted a paycheck. You remember they used to come and sign, even many till today.
Swearing in by the president?
No, we don't say in.
No, they swore in. They were sworn in, parliamentarians.
Yes.
All right?
And a different arm of government.
Exactly. But you cannot say they did not follow the orderlies of where they recognize the head of state. Let me put it that way. Okay. He did, Mheshimiwa did. And that's the point I'm trying to make across. Albeit the fact that he's telling us here he has problems with his legitimacy. And we followed back and forth where they were going to just sign in and leave. Were they principled then? Because they are chasing after a paycheck. And that is what Fred, me and you, that is what they are doing. If really you want to stand on principle, say, I will not come to that house, I will not go for that paycheck, I want to stand and be counted as somebody who is full of principles. So this is just, I mean, this is just...
But also the headline on the